The unstoppable rise of sportswear to high fashion. Why? In the 80s, women wore tracksuits with makeup and heels, while pot-bellied men used them only for leisure activities, like buying the Sunday newspaper. These people were mocked, but also admired, especially the fashion-forward styles from New York. Wall Street executives wore suits with sports shoes, although they did switch to formal shoes at their office. This indicated sportswear's future acceptance as everyday wear, a trend solidified after the pandemic, a trend that is growing and that has its roots on the 50s. The rise of color TV transitioned viewers from stadiums to living rooms, similar to the shift from physical stores to online shopping like Amazon. Sportswear mass appeal grew because it was easy to see and also because everyone could see the color on the color TV. Since the early 20th century, mass sports became popular. Their uniforms were always black and white in newspaper. Wasn't until years later when they would begin to be seen on color, first in collectible trading cards and much after on the first magazines. It isn't by chance that the first popular sports garment, the 1930s lacrosse tennis polo, was white, reflecting the limited colors representation of the time. But despite the vibrant portrayal of sports on color TV and their popularity, no one imagined being able to go out wearing sports gear as regular streetwear. The first step was taken by the youth culture of the 50s, when instead of using suits as usual, they showed preference for jeans, rolled-up shirts, and military haircuts. Known as the bad boy look, it was popularized by Marlon Brando's and James Dean's movies. The seed that was going to explode, definitely with the song That's Alright, in 1954 had just been planted in 1954. The track was recorded at Sun Records, the studio of Sam Phillips, a guy who had been predicting for years that the day he found a white boy singing like a black man, he would make $1 million. The boy had arrived. He was Elvis Presley, and That's Alright was the first rock and roll song in history. From there, he would emerge with bolero jackets, edge belts, and all kinds of eccentric garments. His success made others copy his style, and the bad boy aesthetic became associated with Elvis. It changed the way we understand how to dress in our leisure times, what accessories are suitable for specific occasions, parties, or everyday wear. There wouldn't be such a significant influence on dressing style again until Bruce Lee, another mixed star. If Elvis was an actor and a musician, at least in his mind, he was an actor and a martial arts master. His era of success was a particularity that Elvis lacked: polyester. In the 60s, the new fiber was applied mainly to sportswear because it quickly evaporated sweat, but above all because it allowed for the production of garments in much more vivid colors. And that was essential now that the home televisions were in color and sports broadcasts were capturing the audience's attention. Moreover, those garments incorporated zippers everywhere, and although it may seem like a common detail now, it was a novelty that dazzled young people. Bruce Lee's cultural influence was enormous. Generations of children learned karate and judo, and older ones wanted to imitate his style. Lee paid a lot of attention to his dressing style, experimented with disco attire, platform boots, very open shirt clothes with laces, and even normalized traditional Hong Kong's clothing. But he set no trend as distinctively as with his movie, Game of Death, released in 1978, which can be considered the origin of the tracksuit popularization, especially a yellow one with a black stripe. Quentin Tarantino's Kill Bill paid homage to Bruce Lee's tracksuit style. The tracksuit became more popular than jeans in the 80s, as streetwear. Bruce Lee's use of sneakers, the Onitsuka Tiger Mexico 66 in matching yellow, also set a trend. The TV show Ted Lasso referenced this trend by featuring a character wearing these sneakers. The Nike brand was influenced by Lee's style and his use of sneakers with suits. And so it was that in the 80s, wearing sports sneakers with jeans for going out became not only normal, but also a sign of prestige. Especially if you wore the expensive models, like those Nike Air Jordans that still bear Michael Jordan's name. The 80s saw women's sportswear, especially leggings, become popular for everyday wear, influenced by videotapes. Her legacy includes those leggings now worn as regular pants, even made to mimic jeans. The origin was a viral phenomenon led by actress, activist, and feminist Jane Fonda. Fonda's compelling story as an activist defending women's rights in Hollywood, soldiers' rights in Vietnam War, and many other causes to this day also extended it into facilitating a form of exercise that allowed women to train away from the high testosterone atmosphere of the 80s gym. Once her tapes were released, video became cheap, popular, and was adopted massively. And of course, fashion copied her leggings, leg warmers, and headbands, which most girls wore on the street, and even Madonna on stage. Path to the everyday use of sportswear was almost complete. It was sealed in a vicious cycle by African Americans with hip-hop when it became popular in the 90s. From imitating Elvis to everyone wanting to imitate wearing tracksuits with large gold chains and puffer jackets, which had always been used as riding or hunting attires, but which hip-hop artists brought into street fashion and stagewear. Hip-hop's influence was particularly strong in Latin America, leading to the spread of sportswear as a fashion statement. Latin America's youth saw themselves reflected in the hip-hop lyrics, which denounced the violence and discrimination they faced in their neighborhoods. From there, it would eventually move to reggaeton, and from there to the entire world, definitely elevating the tracksuit to the status of music star attire. It only needed the push of the pandemic to be elevated to the status of luxury clothing. Since 2020, 1 in 4 clothing and footwear items sold worldwide is sportswear. In our country, since that day, more than half of the sportswear sold is used for leisure time rather than for practicing sports. Initially, it was expected to be a trend specific to lockdown, and then, as high fashion brands said, people would go back to dressing up. It has happened, but not as Louis Vuitton, Gucci, or Chanel expected. In fact, they have hurried to include tracksuits, cycling clothes, or neoprene in their runways, and in specific twists, absolutely in the style of Bruce Lee. Now they are shown off with leather high heels, shoes, and boots. Tracksuits with heels? Now, yes. Today, the cultural landscape is fragmented, so there are no musicians, actors, or movie capable of massively influencing fashion trends on their own. However, we do have a significant case that points to social media and reflects their new way of dressing with sportswear, which is also a new way of thinking. Case in point is the brand Sporty and Rich. Sportswear designed as luxury clothing for everyday wear, the name, which speaks for itself, is joined by its origin, emerging as an Instagram collage featuring sports bras, logo t-shirts, and sportswear items that were initially just Photoshop designs. The trend is now unstoppable, so much so that if someone in the future thinks of the current post-pandemic society, they might only imagine it in sportswear, just as we always imagine Romans in togas and sandals, or dressed as legionnaires. See you next video! Get out of here!